UX today, and then send you on your way and allow you to get back to your hackathon. All right, so just to introduce myself, my name is Markus Hines. I'm a user experience designer at Google, working for the Google Meet team, and I work in the Durham, North Carolina office. So a little bit about my journey. I started at the Rochester Institute of Technology in Rochester, New York. I was in a program called Media Arts and Technology, and the foundations of it was print media, but there were also digital mediums as well. It was through that program in which I was introduced to UX through an information architecture publishing course. And then since then, I just wanted to be in UX. So following that, I ended up getting a full-time role at a printing company called CompuMail. I interned there and I also worked full-time as a multimedia designer, making marketing materials for clients. In addition to that, I also redesigned the company's website, and I used the UX principles I learned from my information architecture publishing course to do that. So following that, I had a short stint with Citigroup as a web developer and web designer. It was a contract role, and when I was there, I mainly made internal emails for clients, and I also updated the website every once in a while. So following that, I enrolled in a master's program at the University of Maryland called Human-Computer Interaction. And during my time there, I took a lot of courses where I learned about user research, visual design, even the programming aspect of UX, just many things that encompass UX. And during my time there, I managed to get an internship with T-Mobile as a UX researcher. Now, you may be wondering, if you interned as a UX researcher, how did you pivot to design? Well, I made it clear with the person that hired me that I had a strong interest in design, and I asked him to provide opportunities to do design work in addition to my main responsibilities as a researcher, and he happily gave me tasks to work on in regards to design. And so basically it was a dual internship, even though the main title was UX research. So following that internship, I went back to UMD, finished my last year, and ended up getting my master's in human-computer interaction, and then ended up landing this role here at Google as a UX designer. So I ended up landing a role within the Google Meet team at Google, and my particular function is on the room side, so focusing on experiences for the room, and then also hybrid experiences. So hybrid experiences are basically meeting room experiences that encompasses a remote user and then a room user. So that's where the term hybrid comes from. All right, so as far as the agenda today, I'm just gonna give you a very basic intro to UX. I'm also gonna go into some UX roles we have at Google and that may exist outside of Google. Then I'm gonna talk about what it's like to be a designer at Google. And then we're gonna finish off with an activity. All right, so intro to UX. What is UX? Well, first things first is making technology easy to use. So you always want your product to be intuitive for everyone to use, no matter what. A good example of that will be here. So we have two vending machines. Which one do you think is the easiest to use? Right one, of course. And there's reasons for that. For the vending machine on the left, it's very cognitively overwhelming. You have all of these products that the user can select. You have the code that they have to type in right under it, and then you have the buttons itself. But if you look at the right one, it's more cognitively easy to parse through because it consolidates a lot of the information on the vending machine. So basically what it does is it condenses the product and the button into one singular action, making it very easy for the user to select what they want and then go on their merry way. Next, it's understanding your products, customers, having empathy for them, and solving their problems. What does that mean in detail? It basically means forgoing your own perspective and considering other perspectives outside of your own. Sometimes when you're making products, it's very easy to be biased and base things upon your perspective, but with UX, you're not designing for yourself, you're designing for others, so you have to keep that in mind. Here we have another good example of that. So we have this nice walkway. It's very aesthetically pleasing. However, there's a problem. It forces users to walk further than they need to get to their destination. So basically what you're seeing here is people crossing through the grass just to get to their destination faster. So this is a good example of designing for the experience rather than aesthetics. And then lastly, it's the art and science behind making products that people love. So basically adding the light, motion, anything that will make people happy. Ultimately, people love beautiful products. So beauty is still very important. So some quick examples here. First, we have YouTube. I'm pretty sure you all have used YouTube before. I'm sure you're all familiar with this interaction as well. So if you like a video on YouTube, the icon will animate and have confetti and fireworks. That's an example of adding delight to a product. Secondly, we have Google Meet here. So we have this feature in Meet called Reactions, but there's Easter eggs with it. So many people use the same reaction at once, like say for instance, they're using confetti, then the entire screen will fill up with confetti. So motion is a great way to add delight and user love to your product. What do we design? So user experience designers can design a vast range of products. The first one on the top left, which you're all familiar with, are digital products. So apps, websites, but we can also design other products as well, physical products to be more exact. On the bottom left, we have a range of physical products that we make at Google, such as a Pixel tablet, Pixel phone, Nest cameras, etc. In addition to that, user experience design can be extended to vehicles. So as you see on the bottom right, we have Waymo, which is Google's self-driving car. So what is the process? Well, first, you need to understand your users. And this is a very important phase of research where you conduct interviews to understand your users, or you'll go out in the wild and actually observe users to collect data. And then once you have that data, you want to define what the actual problem is. And once you have that problem, you want to ideate on solutions. And then once you have a lot of solutions, you want to pick one that you think is the best and then move forward with prototyping. And prototyping is very important because that's how you're going to validate if it's actually a viable solution. But the one thing about design is that it's not a straight line. It's very iterative. So you'll find yourself sometimes going back to square one until finally you get to a point where you have that perfect solution and you can continue refining it until you can launch the product. So here we have examples of lo-fi prototypes, and lo-fi prototypes are very beneficial. Basically, they allow you to iterate on various ideas without investing a lot of time in them. They're also very inexpensive. So it's a great way to figure out what works and what doesn't work. Next, we have that you feel works. You can move forward and get a product that's more closer to what the finished product should look like. And this is very beneficial because when you test it, you're more likely to get data that's in line with what the final product would look like. Not only that, it's a great way to sell the product to stakeholders. And then once you get past those phases, you'll have a final product that you can put on the market and hopefully many users enjoy it. All right, so next we're going to go into UX roles. So at Google, there are 3 primary functions for making the product. We have PMs, we have UX, and we have engineering. As far as the roles of UX at Google, the first one is UX researchers. And typically, they're the ones meeting with various customers, trying to understand their pain points and gathering data that everyone else can use to improve products or make new products with. Next, we have interaction designers, visual designers, and motion designers. And I mentioned all three at once because although they're different roles, a lot of times they're interchangeable, and typically you'll see designers dabbling in all three. As far as interaction design, it's mainly focused on the information architecture of a product. So how does a user get from point A to point B to point C? So basically organizing the structure of the product. Next, you have visual designers, and they're more focused on the look and feel of the product, so applying brand guidelines, coming up with the colors, fonts, as well as various illustrations that could be helpful for the product. And then next, you have motion designers, and they typically like to add movement to accentuate the elements in the design. And one thing you have to keep in mind with motion design is that it has to serve a purpose. It serves no benefit just to add flashy animation. We have UX engineers, which is a cross between UX design and engineering. And they're very beneficial, especially at Google. With UX engineers, they help to bridge the communication gap that typically could exist with design and engineering. As far as UX, they help to keep us grounded and let us know what's actually feasible and what isn't feasible. And with engineering, they help them work through problems and find different solutions to various constraints that may exist with the design. Next, I'm going to do an overview of life of a designer at Google. So our mission statement is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And to do that, you need to focus on the user, and all else will follow. Remember, you are not the user. A day in the life of a UX designer. So I start off my morning with a commute. The office is in Durham, but I live in Raleigh, so it's pretty much a 30-minute drive, but I don't mind that. I like driving in my car, blasting my music, so it gets me pumped for the day. Once I get to the office, I usually have heads down focus time, which I spend a lot of my time just doing design work. And mainly, that work will entail going through research that was discovered, feedback from users, and then applying that design in Figma, which is the primary design tool that we use at Google. So when I'm designing, I'm always trying to keep users at the center of my designs, so that way I'm making sure I design a product that users will actually enjoy. So here I have this infographic, and basically it starts off with receiving feedback. I take that feedback, I make designs in Figma, and then hopefully you launch a product that everyone will enjoy and also solves the problem. Next, I have one-on-one meetings with my manager, and typically these meetings will follow about career progression, things I need to do to move forward in my career, and also just going over various projects and offering me feedback. Next, we have lunch, and the special thing about being a Googler is that lunch is free. So usually I spend this time with coworkers, usually just discussing various projects or things outside of Google. Next, I have meetings in the afternoon, and one thing about working at Google is that we have offices all over. So a lot of times you'll be collaborating with people that are in different time zones, and in my case, I work with people that are on the West Coast. So a lot of my meetings will be in the afternoon for this reason. So my first meeting is with my cross-functional partners, which includes PMs, engineering, and UX art. And usually the goals of those meetings are to get aligned on what we're creating. And typically my goal as a designer is to influence my cross-functional partners in terms of what I want or believe is best for the design and the interface. But it's very important that you take many things into consideration. And the first one is user needs. As I mentioned before, you always want to consider what the users want and what's best for them, and you want to make a product that they actually want. And next is requirements, and this is usually something in regards to UX that people aren't aware of. And this might sound contradicting, but with UX, designing for the users is very important, but you also have to take the business goals into consideration. Ultimately, you're working for a company, they're trying to make money, so you have to balance what's best for the user while also balancing what's best for the business. Then lastly, constraints. So with engineering, there's always going to be constraints. So I have to make sure I'm designing things that are feasible and can be done within a timely manner because we have deadlines. There may be cases when something can be possibly done and it takes longer than expected. So typically I'll have to compromise with the engineers and come up with another solution that's feasible so that they can get the work done in a timely manner. Next, I have design reviews, and typically I'll have that with a more senior designer or design leadership, I should say. And this is usually to drive product quality and just overall excellence for the product. And that entails following design guidelines, and design guidelines are very important. They're very important to the brand and Google itself, and just helping to establish that if you're using this product, you recognize that it's a Google product. Next is just listening to general feedback, and it's nice getting feedback from other designers because you can hear things, suggestions that you didn't originally consider. You can hear feedback that's reassuring, showing that you're on the right direction. And sometimes you can hear feedback that's hard, saying that you need to try something else. And then lastly, you'll get yay or nay. So basically, do you get approval to move forward with this design? If you do, you'll be able to move your designs onto engineering and get it built. If not, you just have to refine it. And hopefully the next time when you go through a review, it gets approved. Following that, I have some more time to get some design work done. And then lastly, we have educational opportunities often at Google. So there will be various talks hosted that can help you propel your career as well as the work you're doing. All right, now we're on the final part. So I have an activity planned for you all, so let's get into it. So first things first, I want to go over sketching. Why should you sketch? Well, it helps you think more creatively and just to get your ideas out there. You can create many ideas without worrying about quality, and then you can decide which ideas are worth pursuing and which ideas you should discard. Plus, who doesn't love to sketch? All right, so Crazy Eights. I'm pretty sure you've all heard of that, right? Okay, cool. All right. So basically what we're gonna do, individually, you're gonna spend 8 minutes sketching 8 distinct ideas. The goal is to push beyond your first idea and generate a wide variety of solutions to your challenge. So I want you all to get a pencil and a sheet of paper. I have a bunch available up here, so if you need it, feel free to come up here. And then once you have your paper, you're gonna fold your sheet in half 3 times so that you have 8 panels. And then following that, I'm gonna set a timer for 8 minutes, and I'll let you know when a minute has passed, and then you'll continue to do that until you have 8 sketches. All right? Okay. So for those that need it, Josh is going to hand you paper and pencils. As far as the prompt you'll be working on, we have the NYC MetroCard prompt. So basically what I want you to do, I want you to design a new system that allows a daily user who uses Metro every day or an out-of-town visitor who will use the MetroCard just once to get access to the Metro on time without having a physical NYC MetroCard on hand. But there are requirements. One problem that New York City has is that they lose millions of dollars in revenue because people are swiping for other users besides themselves. So I basically want you to design a solution that reduces card swiping for other people. Does that sound good? right to sleep. Once everyone has their paper, I'm going to ask you all to just let me know, and I'll start the timer, and then you can get started.
Yes. Do I design a system or do I design a car? Do I design a system or do I design a metro car?
So basically just a digital copy.
Is everyone ready, or do some of you still need more time to get situated? Alright. If you're all ready, then I'll start the timer. Alright, I just started it. You have 8 minutes. Alright, move on to sketch 2. Please move on to sketch 3. All right, move on to sketch 4. Pardon me, sketch 3. Sorry. Wait, is it sketch 4?
Yeah.
Okay, try it first time. All right, sketch 5. All right, sketch 6. All right, sketch 7. All right, last sketch. my tools down. All right, cool. How was that? Did anyone get 8 sketches? It's okay if you didn't. All right. So now we're gonna go into a solution sketch. So for those that need it, there's more paper up here. So if you need to grab paper, feel free to. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna select one of your ideas and you're gonna expand upon it. So you'll have 10 minutes and then you're gonna create a solution for the idea you like best. And you're gonna flesh it out in detail as well. And you can use 3 frames or states to help illustrate how it works. It's fine if you wanna do more. I think it's best to stop at 5, however. All right? So I'm gonna start the timer. For those that need more paper, there's paper up front here. All right, I'm starting the timer now.
whole round. Official, he just dragged me. So I thought everyone was like, okay. He's so charismatic. Like, we have the tickets. I'm like, we don't know what happened. I'm just following orders. What do you mean? Everything. I have 2 part-time jobs now. I think
5 minutes left.
It's not funny, but I basically got it to where you just. Here. Okay, actually, here, I'll do it with myself. I'm not gonna do it now. Never mind. You just long press on it, like big, like not long, hard, like it's. And it has all the right exposure and everything. Everything's good. The only thing that's bad is that zoom in is not like this right now. It actually changes the color. So I want to use this specific color. So if you zoom in, you would do. You press this trash button, actually not the trash button, you press this button, then you press this arrow on the right, and then the TW with the little thing, and that's how you zoom in. And you can't just hold it down, you have to like go to fidget a little, really slowly. It's really annoying. Probably better. But like I looked at some of them, they do look pretty good. Yeah. I'm gonna have to leave soon. So I'm trying to find someone to pass this off. Okay. Because like we're not doing this. We're just doing dinner and so bad. I'm gonna try to say, hey, how much longer do you think for? Because I should know. Like in purpose.
1 minute left.
there's sprints, you get the end of the period, you get a signboard, all the terms. So there's water. And then, it's just like, do you have a agile? Yeah, are you agile? It is. Every 2 weeks they'll have tickets, they'll prioritize tickets at your team, like weekly or every 2 weeks retro sprint, you'll get new tickets, go on and use those for 2 weeks. Do you get free lucid preview? No, you're paying. Well, I mean, like when I'm working there, yeah, I get it. Like right now, it's like I'm gonna return to it into like I have a return to work.
All right, pens and pencils down. How does everyone feel about their solution sketch? That is okay. The good thing about the sketching phase is it's not meant to be pretty. It's just for idea generation. All right. Who's brave enough to share their solution sketch? And Josh is going to come around with a microphone.
So I basically, I hope this is the right thing. I'm kind of not sure, but so the solution is I guess metro writer will have an app, and it will have the QR code and the door. I'm assuming it's gonna kind of swing open, and it has a card reader, so they will use their app, the QR code to be scanned at the card reader, and then the door will quickly open and then close right after they pass the sensors. And at that point, when they do scan the card, it will have a auto hole punch option where once they use it to get past the gate, then it can't really be used again. And it'll be, I'm assuming it's like a reloadable card for the retro card, so they'll deduct money immediately. And then if they, I think the issue is tailgating, if I'm understanding correctly, so if the door's closed and they try to reuse the app, then the auto hole punch is already activated, so they can't do it again, and the person behind them can't tailgate.
Awesome. That is a great solution, and I love how you consider the business requirement of, like, you know, stopping people from sharing their metro pass. So wonderful job. Does anyone else want to share their solution? Someone right there.
So I've made sketches like for an app that has a sign up, sign in. Then it has a screen that says buy tickets, and you can have number of tickets and number of passengers if you have adults and children. So in case you don't need a ticket for a day, you need a pass for a month or so. So there's another screen that takes you there that allows you to get passes for for a month, and you can check whether it's a recurring pass, something like that. And next page goes to a confirmation page where it shows all the expenses, like how much the ticket costs and the taxes and the can total for that, and you can proceed to pay from there. And the next screen takes you to the payment page where you have options to enter your credit card details or just scan your credit card. And there are some other payment methods like PayPal. You can choose that too and proceed to pay with your payment. The next screen shows you, it just says welcome aboard, and there's a green check mark or a blue check mark for Google. And it says thank you for your payment. The next screen is just where you have all your cards. It just displays the card figure, so you can tap wherever you want. It's like Google Wallet, saving card in Google Wallet. The next screen is like a history screen where you have all the transaction history that you have. In case you are at the station and you are just waiting to book a ticket at the counter, you can scan QRs at the station. so that you can the details will be pre-filled for you in your booking app. So this makes sense that there is a feedback form and there is a button to submit. The final one is the deals, and most of it they can buy ads so that we can monetize that very.
Nice job. One thing I like that you did was that you considered all users with your monthly pass option, one-off ticket buying, and then even languages, because you know New York City is like a melting pot. Like many people are like visiting, so I think you did a really good job with that. All right. Does anyone else want to go? Nobody? There we go.
So I have an application. It's like first you book a trip, like from where you want to go to your destination, and if it's a round trip, the user has a choice for that as well. And once you select the time and date, it will show you all the trains which are available, and the user can choose from it. And then the payment page, all the payment methods. And later you have to, once the user finishes the payment, they'll get a ticket which has a barcode on it. And so the user can scan this barcode, and as soon as they scan it, that is, the trip is done. I mean, so that they can't use it again. And and it will be recorded in their history, and they can use this history. And if they want to repeat the trains or anything, they can go for buy again. And also, if they're regular, I mean, if they want to commute regularly, they can have something like that as well. They can record their trips, which are like going to off work or anywhere. So and later I have a support page, and I thought by any chance if they have a metro card like monthly or something, they can link that as well.
All right, nice. Great job taking the business constraints into consideration. Wonderful. Does anyone else want to go?
So I've considered daily users. So the front page will have view pass and bypass options, and it will have view trains where you can view where the train is using Google Maps. Then you can buy single tickets as well, where you can search in from and destination and buy a ticket. Then I would also have credits on top. So for that, there would be a page for travel history, and for each travel there would be some credits given to you. And then there would be a separate page when the user clicks on view pass. It will be a single metro card like she has done. And there would be the bypass would give you plans for 1 month, 2 months, or 1 year with discounts. And then settings page. That's all. Okay.
Wonderful job. You also took many users into consideration with the different like passes available. So wonderful. Do you still want to go up front here? Okay. Josh is passing out microphones in the back. Oh, right there.
Yeah, so on the login page, there's two options: a regular user or just a one-day pass, and that's a guest. Usually because I'm there for a day, I don't create a profile, just get a one-day pass, and that'll take you to the next screen.
Stop people for using their swipes for other people. In addition to that, I thought it was a really great idea to have the 2 sign-up options, because as a user that's just visiting, you know, it was a great idea or an insight to sort of like assume that they don't want to sign up, they just want to use something quickly. So, wonderful job. Great job, everyone. basically want to open the floor up for questions. Any questions about anything related to UX or just anything at Google, feel free to ask me. No questions. Oh, one right there.
So this is kind of a question, but I kind of want to go over what the current one is because I currently live in New York. The current thing that they have in place. One of the really cool things, and each of you highlighted different parts of this. One of the things they have in place is that you can just use a credit card as you're scanning through, and then after you use the same credit card 10 times, the rest of the week is free. So if you're a normal commuter, then it saves money if you're doing stuff like after hours or doing more than that. Same card. And I think having that app with the login system that y'all were talking about, where if they utilize it in a way where they're using it within like 5 minutes of the previous one, it doesn't count towards that and they still have to pay for it, would be a way to kind of combat that use case that you were talking about. But I thought it was really neat how you had the different use cases of the guest login versus the other one. I thought that one was really neat.
Awesome. Thank you for that insight. I wasn't aware that they had a system in place, but it's nice to see that you all had like very great thinking and, you know, potentially solved a problem that they haven't even thought of solving yet. All right, does anyone have any more questions? If not, or right there.
Hello? Yeah, I just had a question on, I'm not sure if you covered this, but your journey to be where you at. Yeah, because I know like UI UX sometimes is sort of sometimes separate from software engineering, but I don't know like if for the software engineers in the room, how would you advise them to, if they have interest in UI UX, how to get into that career?
That's a very good question, and I'd actually say it's not as hard as you think. I actually know many designers that were once software engineers, or they were in that field originally. I would just say, you know, invest in learning about anything related to UI UX. If you have a job opportunity, an internship, try your hands at something front end related. That's a great way to, you know, create a bridge between software engineering and UI and UX. And I think it's good as a software engineer to learn about UI and UX, and then vice versa for designers, mainly because when you're going to be at a company making products, it's highly collaborative. I work with engineers all the time, and if we have an understanding of what we each do and what we need to do, it makes collaboration much easier, and it makes the process much smoother when creating and even launching products. Yes, you right here. Good question. So essentially, as a designer at Google, I don't code at all. If there's anything that needs to be coded, it's delegated to the software engineers and it's delegated to UX engineers. As far as the second part of your question, I think you mentioned what is it like being a non-computer science related designer. I would say it's almost similar. I would say that designers that have experience with computer science have an advantage over designers that don't, because they're able to better understand, you know, engineering constraints, and it makes collaboration much smoother. And another funny thing is a designer who has experience in computer science can tell when an engineer is trying to like lie to them or say they can't do something, because that does happen sometimes. Especially when you're dealing with an engineer that's more of a back-end developer and they're doing something front-end. Ultimately they just want to get something shipped. But having that experience and being a designer, it's crucial and it's very helpful. No problem. Yes, you right here. Behind you, Josh.
How do you go about fostering that collaboration between the engineers and the designers, and how frequent is the discussions back and forth? How do you identify what is too large of a scope for a design, and how do you understand something that would be the constraints that go back and forth between those two requirements?
Very good question. So typically I try to involve engineers in my process as early as possible. Not too early, because as designers, it's our goal to push the idea forward, but you don't want to get far enough to where you have an idea that's so extravagant, but then it can't be made. So typically I'll meet with engineers just to see if something is feasible, and if they bring up concerns to me, I'll try to find a workaround for it. But usually getting engineers involved very early is very helpful in steering you in the right direction. No problem. There's someone over there.
So actually, a few questions. The first is, what is the biggest difference between UI and UX? And second, so I started a club, the UI UX Tech Club, this January, or this past January 2016, and I'm just trying to, a lot of the questions that were asked to me is, basically what will help everyone stand out as far as their portfolios and resumes to employers, and I'm trying to help find answers for that, resources for that.
Yeah, very good question. In terms of the difference between UI and UX, I'll just put this out there right now. So the term UI UX actually isn't correct. UI is actually a subcomponent of user experience, and user experience encompasses many things that just involves creating something that takes visuals into account, business constraints, and engineering constraints. So basically just user experience. As far as UI, that's mainly visual design, which is an important component of user experience, but it can also become too important to the point where you have a product that's very beautiful, but it's just not functional. As far as the second part of your question, what will help you stand out with employers when it comes to your portfolio? I would say the number one skill you need to invest in is storytelling. Storytelling is very important for your case studies, because it's how you're going to sell your ideas to not even just other designers, but even stakeholders. So you want to tell it in a way where it sounds like a story and not just a checklist. In addition to that, in terms of the information hierarchy of your portfolio, you want to make sure you're getting the information that hiring managers care about at the very top of it. So, what is the project? What's the solution? What was the impact? Those are things that hiring managers and even designers care a lot about. And then, if they really want to, they'll look at the rest of the process and what you did to get there. But that's just another way to make yourself stand out, because ultimately, these hiring managers and design managers, they're looking at hundreds of portfolios per day. And sometimes they're only spending, a minute at most looking at it. One last thing. If you're early in your career, it does help to have a visually appealing portfolio. So create something that speaks to you in your own personal style, and just show that you have basic design skills. So make sure you're using the right fonts, the right colors, stuff of that nature.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Yes.
What does UX design look like considering the disabled user, like people who have difficulty using mobile phone or a computer?
That is a very good question, and I have experience with this. not professional experience, but educational experience. So when I was in school, I took a class called Inclusive Design, and usually that involves participatory design. It's basically when you include those users in the design process. So you work with them, they insist in helping you come up with a solution, and then you build it out. As far as the specific thing you just mentioned, what was the specific disability you mentioned again?
Like for myself, I have trouble like reading pages that are like really black bright, and I also have trouble using keys, especially at level ones that are smaller.
Yeah. So a good example of how technology has accommodated that so far is one, they have voice control. So rather than having to use your hands, you can just use your voice to get to where you need to. As far as what you mentioned is in terms of text size, there are settings where you can adjust the display and make it a lot larger and easier for you to read. And a lot of times it's personalized, so you can get a font that works specifically for you and your needs.
Thank you.
No problem. Any more questions? Yes.
Is the UX engineer role like something specific to Google?
So yes. As far as I know, like Google's like the only place I know of that has UX engineers, but there could be other companies out there that have that role as well. Just have to do research on it and see what you find. Yeah, but other than that, the closest role to a UX engineer is a front-end developer. I would just say there's like less UX fundamentals with that, however. Awesome. Any more questions? Yes.
Sorry, I have one more question. So how do you combat like the problem of if you get a design wrong in the first place? How long do you wait until you decide to pull back those changes or redeploy something else? Like say if it makes it to the end user, but for certain categories of user it's just simply unsustainable. How do you try to elegantly revoke that when some users have already gotten used to it?
That's a very good question. So if you have a solution that didn't really work out the way you wanted and users are already used to it, a great strategy for that is change management. So users typically don't like change, even if the change is much better for them. So a good way to combat that is to strategically stage new additions to the feature. So over time, you just slowly add new elements to the experience until finally the new experience just completely takes it over. So that way, it's not like a drastic change all at once. No problem. Any more questions? If not, I really enjoyed doing this talk with you all. I really enjoyed hearing your ideas as well. I really hope you can use what I taught you today for the hackathon and build some really great things. Thank you, everyone.